Hello, everybody. All right, so welcome to the show, everybody. As we wait for more people, go over kind of what's on tap for tonight here. Um, yeah, take care of something here real quick here. So, of course, we'll have some more niche news, as it were, tonight. We're going to be going over 4 articles from Bounding into Comics. Including Jim Zub setting sales records for Titan Comics with his version of Conan the Barbarian. We will also be looking at Dark Horse has admitted that even though they're only 1% of the output, manga for Dark Horse makes 66% of the profit for them. Also, Josie Campbell. Hey, Rick, I see you there. Yeah. So, Josie Campbell has recently acknowledged that she decided to race swap. Thank you for the like and the share, by the way, Rick. Race swap the Lois Lane character to where she's more Korean. There's been a little bit of heat on that too because apparently a Korean girl had offered some suggestions on how to make it more authentic, and Josie apparently didn't take too kindly for that. We'll be looking at that. And also, apparently, former DCAU member Butch Zukic has some advice for James Gunn. So, with that, since we do have some people here now, I guess I'll get right to it then instead of just waiting around. And as always, if you haven't already, if you can like and share the stream, see if we can get some more friendly people in here to watch the show. Also, if anything we talk about, of course, grabs your attention, feel free to comment and or ask questions, and we will go ahead and answer those questions. I'll go ahead and answer those questions to the best of my ability. Also, of course, we will have, of course, the wrestling wrap up and this day in each history towards the end of the show. So, without any further ado, and looks like we're going to kick this off a little early here. So, why don't we go ahead and get right into it then? All right, and let's get going here. And of course, Rick, I know you're here, and I know I already gave you a wrench. So, if you want to also plug your show tonight, feel free to do so. You're welcome to. Don't forget, guys. After this, of course, Rick will be doing his chill stream at 7 o'clock Pacific, 10 Eastern. So you might want to go check out that afterwards as well. So with that, why don't we go ahead and get started with the article here then? First of 4 articles we're going to be going over tonight. All right, so Jim Zub's new Conan the Barbarian breaks sales records for Titan Comics. Article by John F. Trent, published yesterday, the 24th. So, Titan Comics announced their upcoming Conan the Barbarian #1 by Jim Zub and Roberto De La Torre. Became the most sold comic in Titan Comics history. In a press release, the publisher proclaimed, quote, confirmed sales of the initial print exceeded 80,000, making Conan #1 the largest selling issue in Titan Comics history. Now, as I understand it, I think Titan is a publisher over in England. So I believe that's the case. So now Conan, of course, is always a popular character. You know, the barbarian, the Sumerian warrior there, very popular. So, Let's see. With a second printing planned and third printing probable, final sales for this debut issue are expected to exceed 100,000 copies, unquote. Let's see. Titan Publishing Director Ricky Clayton celebrated, quote, "We are also thrilled with the numbers on issue number one. Our staff and partners at Heroic Signatures worked extremely hard to make the best Conan comic ever, and I think we have achieved that." Unquote. He added, quote, "Jim and Roberto," in parentheses there, Zubs and Delatorre, "creation is barbarically perfect." Okay. This masterpiece, combined with the unbelievable support of our distribution, Diamond Comics, and retail partners, made this launch a once in a lifetime opportunity for all of us, unquote. And of course, Diamond Comics is in parentheses there. Yes, Conan, a very gritty barbarian tale there. Barbarian lore. See if anybody's got anything to say thus far. Nope. All right. So, anyways, getting back to the article here. Let's see. These sales numbers come after Heroic Signatures moved the Conan the Barbarian license from Marvel Comics to Titan Comics. So, Heroic Signatures is, I guess, the parent company for the Conan the Barbarian license. And and as everybody knows, people have been not a lot of people have not been happy with the way Marvel has handled certain licenses due to the way they've been pushing certain agendas and trying to put certain things into the comics that do not belong in the comics. Heroic Signatures president Frederick Malmberg explained the decision to move to Titan Comics back in April to Midnight's Edge Andre Elherjar. Quote, "It sort of started leaking out that we were not going to be with Marvel for much longer. We were approached by a number of publishers who then wanted to collaborate, co-publish, or take out a license. But at that point, we were already, in small quote, nope, we're not going to do another license. We'll do this ourselves. We want to be true to Robert E. Howard. We don't want to be bound by any comics code or anything like that." Now, granted, the Comics Code Authority has not been in use for past 12 years. It basically more or less came to an end back in 2011. But I see what he's saying. Not just that, but he doesn't want to. They don't want to be bound by any they don't want to necessarily be bound by any publishers' whims either. You know, but with a lot of these SJWs, they're liable to think Conan is just a symbol of toxic man. And they probably want to do to Conan what they did to Punisher, right? They want to just emasculate him. So. Quote, "So we very quickly ended up actually with Titan Comics," unquote. He continued, quote, "I know the owner and founder, Nick Landau, and his wife, Vivian, very well. When I ran the tradition game stores in Sweden, Nick Landau and Titan distributors were the go-to distributor for all mainland Europe for sci-fi books and stuff. So we've known each other for a long time. Yeah. So well, as I always thought Titan Comics is based. I knew it was based in Europe. I thought England more specifically, but quote. And we had entered the year before into an agreement where we would be publishing new Conan novels, books, short stories, ebooks through Titan for the English language. And so it was actually a very quick discussion with them where we needed to sort out um, the financial details. Um, but they really wanted to come in heavily on our publishing plans, so we made an agreement with them very quickly. Unquote. Malmberg explained. Let's see now. In the same interview, Zub explained what the series was about. Quote, we're not doing serialized in the sense that we're going to have Conan at the start of his career and then just every single moment from his early days and every single moment of his prime into the king. We are going to move around quite a bit, but there's going to be kind of these bigger, broader kind of stories that we're going to tell. Unquote. So it sounds like he's going to make it more episodic as opposed to serial. A story here and there, as opposed to being more of a like ongoing story. Quote, Conan's life is a series of these kind of cool, echoing patterns where things that happen to him in his younger days have an effect on him in his prime and potentially have an effect on him later, as the king. Um, so we wanted to kind of explore that stuff, unquote. He elaborated. From there, Zub discussed how the story arcs jump around in Conan's life. Quote, the very first story is, I don't even think we've named the story arc yet, so I'm going to keep that close to my chest. But the stuff that happens in the first story arc is self contained. It's an adventure that you can read and enjoy from start to finish. But then the second story, even though we jump ahead a little bit in the timeline, there's connective tissue there, plot wise, and the same thing will happen with our third story arc. So yeah, they're planning on jumping around a bit here. Is what they're saying. Who's gonna drive you home tonight? Quote, that if you read the entire first year of Conan the Barbarian, the new series at Titan, you're going to get really cool epic adventure. And it's all going to kind of round out and be really, really enjoyable from start to finish. And yet, you can also read kind of each arc on its own and not feel completely lost. There is sort of a nice demarcation point of okay, a new adventure begins. If you've been reading all along, you'll enjoy it. You'll know these bigger kind of picture things that we're doing. But you're not going to be left out in the cold if you haven't been reading the entire series, unquote, he proclaimed. Who's gonna drive you home tonight? Zub would also be asked if there is a difference in restrictions under Titan and Marvel. He revealed that Marvel does indeed restrict the violence depicted in a Conan series. He explained, quote, I don't think a Marvel book is necessarily restrictive in the sense that Marvel's got their broader kind of expectation in terms of violence that you can put on the page. Titan's even looser in that way. It's much more like the classic Savage Sword. We've got violence in the book that I never would have been able to get away with at Marvel, right in the first issue. So, for fans of blood and gore, that's probably a good thing. Quote, the violence is intense. We're lopping off limbs. Oh boy, the women are absolutely stunning, unquote. He continued, quote, it's pretty classic kind of pulp fantasy in that way. There is big love and big violence and big everything. It is intense. Yeah, probably very similar to the manga Berserk in a way, I guess. But then, from what I understand, Conan was originally more like that to begin with. Big violence, big love, and all that. The official description for Conan the Barbarian #1 states, quote, years after the Battle of Vimerium, a weary Conan returns to his homeland to seek rest and solitude. However, a mysterious scout arrives to warn the Cimmerians of an imminent threat on the march from the Pictish wilderness. Will Conan and his new ally be able to hold off the new horde of invaders? The first issue will feature covers by Dan Panosian, Roberto de la Torre, Argerm, Patch Zurcher, Mike Mignola, and Ian Gist. Other covers include Wraparound Hyborian Age Map, a Virgin Foil Conan movie replica, and a blank sketch cover. The first issue arrives in comic book stores on July 26, 2023. So tomorrow, it will retail for $3.99. So this book will be in your comic book stores tomorrow, folks. If you want to go grab it. What do you make of Conan the Barbarian #1 breaking sales records at Titan Comics? Sounds pretty cool. Probably just goes to show that that not going woke will actually make you rich. Right? So there we go with that. Anyways, hello. And of course, if you haven't already, if you guys can help out by liking, sharing the stream, seeing if we can get some more friendly people here, that'd be appreciated. Also, anything here grabs your attention, feel free to comment and or ask questions, and I'll try to answer the questions to the best of my ability. So, can we move on to the next story then here, next article then, we'll go over here. Dark Horse Comics reveals, quote, manga is 1% of our output, but represents 66% of our sales. So just think of it. Coming from 1% of your output, you're getting about 2/3 of your sales. You're making 2/3 of your money from just 1% of your output. That's incredible. Your output. That's incredible right there. Article by John F. Trent, published earlier today in the comic and manga section. So, Dark Horse Comics Senior Director of Licensing, Michael Gombos, recently revealed that the publisher's manga offerings make up 66% of the company's sales, despite being only 1% of their output. During an appearance at San Diego Comic-Con as part of the, quote, found in translation, unquote, Journalist Deb Aoki reported that Gombos relayed during the panel, quote, "It's important to remember that manga was made for Japanese readers. At Dark Horse, manga is 1% of our output, but represents 66% of our sales," unquote. So just imagine, they only, the books that they license or they publish, manga makes up only 1%. So for every 100 books that they publish, only one of those books is only one of those books is a manga. Okay. And when you think about that, that one book out of that 100 makes up about 2/3 of their sales. So they make up 2/3 of their money. They make 2/3 of their money from that one book, where only the other 99 books only make up about 1/3 of their money. Think about it like that. And there, I guess, is the panel right there. Gombos' revelation comes after Embracer Group revealed that Kentaro Miura's Berserk manga was the highest-selling print property in 2019, 2020, and 2021 at Dark Horse Comics. Yes, Berserk is very much in the same line as the original Conan. Very gritty, very violent. It was also the third most sold property in 2017 behind Zelda and Overwatch in 2017, and the fourth most sold property in 2018 behind Zelda, Super Mario, and World of Warcraft. Oh, wow. I don't know if those are actually titles that Dark Horse does as well, but okay. Rick has had some things to say here. Well, it might not make you rich, but it will make you some money, at least. That is crazy. Makes you want to make a manga, make the manga out, make manga output larger than 1%. Can we bump that? Can we bump that to 2%? I don't know, Rick. You'd have to ask them. You'd have to ask them that one. I couldn't tell you. Not only did they reveal that Berserk was the highest selling print property, but that its rise to the top of the charts also followed a trend where the company's backlist sales began making up a plurality of its total sales. So think about that. A huge chunk of those sales that we're talking about are back issues. They're not newer issues, they're back issues. When you got a big chunk of back issues making up 2/3 of your company's sales, and I had somebody say that nobody likes old comics to me, yeah, right. In 2018, 50% of sales were initial sales compared to just shy of 30% being backlist sales. Backlist sales would increase to 37.5% in 2019, with front list sales declining to 35.7%. In 2020, backlist sales were making up 45% of the company's sales, while front list sales had declined to 27.9%, which tells you that there is a growing market for older stuff, for the stuff that people fell in love with in the past. That maybe the stuff that's being put out there today isn't as appealing to the stuff that you grew up on, right? People are just going berserk to catch up with the story. Ha ha, yeah. Ha ha. Yep. Finally, in 2021, backlist sales were making up nearly half of all sales at 49%, while front list sales had declined to 24.1%. Okay, so could this be in part due to the old go woke, go broke bit, maybe? Maybe our people are liking the older stories more than a lot of the new stuff that's being put out. Maybe an even more interesting statistic in the Embracer Group report was that sales at Things from Another World stores were pretty much flat between 2019 to 2021. Report notes that sales in 2019 came in at 2.3 million, stayed flat in 2020, and a slight increase in 2021 to 2.5 million. While sales at Things from Another World were flat, sales at Dark Horse Digital did see a significant bump during the COVID-19 lockdowns. In 2018 and 2019, sales were flat at $3.4 million. It significantly increased to $5.5 million in 2020, then declined to $4.3 million in 2021. So it kind of went up because of COVID and then went down. Anyway, it went back down, with people being able to go out more and actually go into the store and buy a physical copy. Another interesting statistic to look at, given Dark Horse's revelation that manga represents 66% or 2/3 of their sales, is the fact that Berserk Deluxe Volume 1, Dark Horse Comics, was only the 16th most sold manga title of 2022, as reported by NPD Bookscan. It was behind Chainsaw Man Volume 1, Spy Family Volume 1, Demon Slayer Kimetsu no Yaiba Volume 1, Chainsaw Man Volume 2, Demon Slayer Kimetsu no Yaiba Stories of Water and Flame, Jujutsu Kaisen Volume 0, My Hero Academia Volume 1, Chainsaw Man Volume 3, Chainsaw Man Volume 4, Spy Family Volume 2, Chainsaw Man Volume 10, Demon Slayer Kimetsu no Yaiba Volume 2, Jujutsu Kaisen Volume 1, Chainsaw Man Volume 9, Chainsaw Man Volume 11. Now, of course, we've been talking about this for the last couple of years here, where manga has been outselling, Western comics quite a bit. I know Yellow Flash has talked about that several times. Vera Dark has talked about it several times. We've even covered that here on the Mikestand, as we've gone over the news reports over it. It just goes to show you that, even though manga is made for Japanese readers, there are a lot of Western comic book and manga readers who like what Japan is doing as opposed to what people here in the West are doing. So, anyways. Let's see now. And we're continuing on here with the article here. Let's see. When looking at ICV2's Comic Hub sales data, the book took fourth place. The difference between the NPD Bookscan data and the Comic Hub data is the NPD Bookscan, in quote, I think there's a typo there. It should say collects weekly point of sale data on print books from over 16,000 locations, including e-tailers, chains, mass merchandisers, independent bookstores, and more. NPT BookScan covers approximately 85% of the U.S. Trade print book market. Comic Hub, quote, tracks sales at stores selling American comics around the world, unquote. Chainsaw Man, Volume 1, My Hero Academia, Volume 1, and Demon Slayer Kimetsu no Yaiba, Volume 1, were the only books to surpass Berserk, Deluxe Volume 1, on the Comics Hub sales chart. Dark Horse Comics seems to recognize the value of manga, as they are not only publishing Miura's Berserk, but also publishing One's Mob Psycho 1000, Sumino Owara's Keep Your Hands Off Aizokin, Wataru Naratani's Cat Gamer, Kota Hirano's Drifters, and Hellsing, as well as hardcover editions of Yasuhiro Nighto's Trigun. What do you make of the galling statistic that manga sales make up 66% of the company's sales, but only 1% of the town? That's quite a turnover right there. That's a phenomenal turnover, that you can get 1% of your output to contribute 2/3 of your sales. You make 2/3 of your money from just 1% of your output. Again, let me just reiterate what I pointed out earlier. Out of every 100 books that Dark Horse puts out, out of every 100 books that Dark Horse puts out, one of those books is a manga. And from that one manga, that 1%, that one book brings in 2/3 of the company's profits, right? Whereas the other 99%, in other words, the other 99 books they publish that are not manga, right, only contribute 1/3 of so basically, here's the thing, if you make, let's say you make, just to throw some more numbers out there, let's say you make in total, out of all your books, right, out of all the books that they publish, let's say to just throw out a nice round easy number to throw out there. Not, this isn't necessarily representing what they actually make, but just think about it like this. So for those 100 books that they publish, let's say, right? Let's say they make $30,000 from those 100 books. The one book that's a manga is bringing in on its own 2,000 of that 3,000, right? Or 200,000 of that 3. Okay, so let me say that again. Okay, say for the 100 books that Dark Horse is publishing, let's say they make 300,000 total on all 100 of those books. When you add up all the sales numbers, they make 300,000. So that one book, that one manga, is making 200,000 of that 300,000, while the other 99 books combined is only making $100,000. Now, grant these are not actual sales numbers. I was just putting a number out there just so you understand how the math works there. So people understand just the gravity of that. So anyways, as we get ready to continue on now to move on to the next story here, next article here. Here we go. Here's our next article here. All right, so executive producer Josie Campbell revealed Lois Lane race swapped to Korean in My Adventures with Superman. Article by, and again, just totally, put a big stinker on the lore. Article by Nerdigans Inc., July 25th, 2023, in Comic Book Television section. All right, so executive producer Josie Campbell revealed Lois Lane was race swapped to Korean in DC's new anime-inspired rom-com, My Adventures with Superman. So not only do we get Jimmy and Perry race swapped, but now Lois is apparently race swapped as well. Okay, that's going to probably make a lot of people happy. Created by Ms. Marvel, Volume 3 artist Jake Wyatt, and co-produced by Netflix's She-Ra and the Princess of Power writer Josie Campbell. So this is the same girl who did She-Ra and the Princess of Power, the more recent one that didn't go over well, mind you. And storyboard artist Brendan Clore. The Studio Mir animated series follows the early days of Clark Kent's life in Metropolis as he attempts to balance his secret identity with his developing career as an investigative reporter alongside Lois Lane and Jimmy Olsen. Making her debut in 1938's Action Comics #1, the Pulitzer Prize-winning reporter for Metropolis's The Daily Planet was based off actress Glenda Farrell's portrayal as the fictional journalist Torchy Blaine and modeled after Superman co-creator Jerry Siegel's wife, Joanne. That's pretty interesting. Throughout her over 8-decade tenure in the DC Universe, Lois Lane has generally been depicted as a Caucasian woman. Which as seen here in this issue of Superman's Girlfriend, Volume 1, Number 2, Lois Lane, story featuring Superman's Forbidden Room. And that. From 1958, mind you. Similar to other classic DC characters like Jimmy Olsen, the latest anime-inspired iteration of Superman has race-swapped the iconic Caucasian reporter to Korean, which is the same race as Lois Lane's South Korean voice actress, Alice Lee. Josie Campbell confirmed the race swap as part... Oops. Excuse me. I'll put some music on while I'm gone. Forgot to, once again, put the Do Not Disturb sign on my phone. All right, I'm back. Let's see. It looks like there are some Let's see now. Figures. Soon, no characters will be as they were when created as in their race. That is just dumb. Can't have Korean women actually voice a Caucasian woman for some dumb reason. Yeah. All right. So Josie Campbell confirmed the race swap as part of the My Adventures with Superman behind the scenes Twitter thread, where she revealed Lois Lane's black tie gala outfit worn in the fourth episode. Let's go to Ivo Tower. You say was inspired by a traditional Korean hanbok. Campbell tweeted, quote, also shout out to Do Hong and Intendra for Lois's hanbok inspired gala outfit. We wanted to reflect our Lois's Korean heritage, and the design department made a showstopper of a fit. Yeah, they just like to take characters and just completely just do away with what they were traditionally known as. All right. In a retweet to Campbell, the artist behind the gala hanbok design, Jane Bach, aka Intendra, elaborated on her artistic process with the assistance of sketches dating as far back as 2021, confirming Jake Wyatt, Josie Campbell, and Brendan Fluher planned Lois Lane's Korean race swap during the early stages of My Adventure Superman's production. Of course they did. Of course they did. Quote, I wanted some time to think about what to say about this outfit in particular. Um, she explained. Quote, I remember feeling strongly about wanting to inject some aspect of her Korean heritage without disrupting her characteristics as a spunky and resourceful intern slash reporter, unquote. Quote, so why not push the idea she would wear a hanbok to a gala date night, unquote, she continued. Quote, I have to thank at 38 slash Sir and Do Hong for helping spin my hay into gold with Lois's gala design, and Jake Wyatt, Brendan, and Josie Campbell for letting me go for it, unquote. Hey, Shadowhawk. Lois Lane doesn't have a Korean heritage. Hail Mike, Rick in the chat. Yep. Hey, Shadowhawk. And Rick says, hi, Shad- Lois, classic Korean name, if ever I heard one. Yeah, yeah. These people are like yeah. Even though her name is Lois Lane, good point there, Shadowhawk. Very good point. Yeah, Lois Lane, classic Korean name. Yeah, right. You believe that? I've got some swampland in Florida I'd like to sell you. What's up, fellas? Not much. I've just been covering some stories, including the latest Conan the Barbarian #1 from Titan Comics, breaking sales records for them. Dark Horse acknowledging that their manga output, which is only 1% of their total output, makes 2/3 of their profit for them. And now we're talking about how the people who are producing this latest My Adventures with Superman cartoon, how they're just totally admitting that they decided to race swap Lois as Korean. That's about the gist of everything that we're talking about here, Shadowhawk. And as always, feel free, of course. Josie seems to be this Superman series kryptonite. So, and I thank you for the like and the share, of course. As always, feel free to comment and or ask questions. I'll try to answer the questions best of my ability. Yeah, I mean, well, Rick, you know that when we were talking about it, what was it? Not this past week, but the week before, I even said, "Hey, I gave it a try," and took me 5 minutes before I said no. ah. Bach then tweeted her 2021 initial sketches depicting Lois in a hanbok inspired suit. Quote, and my first drawing back in 2021 of Lois when I heard she was going to need an outfit for the gala. New episodes of My Adventures with Superman premiere Thursday nights at 7 p.m. Eastern Pacific on Adult Swim and Fridays on Max, as well as being rerun on Saturday night, Sunday morning, midnight, as part of Adult Swim as well. What do you make of Warner Brothers animation race one? Yeah. Just another thing that just says, yeah, we don't care what you old people think. We're gonna just go to the toilet on all that you find dear. You're gonna take everything you all find dear right to the toilet. Because that's just what we do. She looks like a boy. Yeah, you know something. It's funny, Rick, because when I covered another article previous to this one, right, and they were talking about some of the changes they had made to this series, right? They were talking about how they designed the new Livewire. Somebody said the same thing about Livewire. Livewire, who was, of course, created back in the 90s as part of the Superman the Animated Series of the 90s, her character was not to look more like a boy, like a prepubescent boy. Taking her from being a white gothic girl to being a boy, or looking like a boy, a prepubescent boy. So, go figure. Anyways, getting ready to go on to the last article we're going to cover tonight here. This is the last article we're going to cover, and another DC related article, of course. This one, though, I think might be a bit better. So, longtime DC Animated Universe creator Butch Lukic shares the advice he would give to James Gunn for the DC Universe. Quote, don't screw with, unquote, the characters. Article by John F. Trent published today through their comic book movies television. So, Book Lukic, who has worked on the DC animated universe in a number of roles, from storyboard artist on Batman the Animated Series to the producer for the upcoming Justice League War World film, shared the advice he would give to James Gunn for his upcoming DC universe. Speaking with Screen Rant's Joe Deckelmeyer at San Diego Comic-Con, Lukic was asked, quote, speaking of the James Gunn universe, you guys have such a great dynamic and you guys tell stories and animation beautifully. What can James Gunn's DC universe kind of learn from what you guys have done in the animation side? I believe that should say on the animation side. Lukic responded, "Well, for us, it's always been because we grew up fans, and we also wanted to be comic book artists and writers. In our heads, we know the characters, and what's always stuck there is doing the real version of what you grew up with, and stick with that. Don't vary from that ever. There's no point. There's no reason." Unquote. So I would take that Lukic is not a big fan of what a lot of these woke writers and artists who are currently he's probably not a big fan of what they've been doing. If I had to just take a wild guess there. He continued, quote, "You want to vary characters or anything else, create a new character. Do that. But for the majority of the DC characters that have been staples of the company for years, stick with what they always were. Don't bleep with them. Don't screw with them." Unquote. Jim Craig, one of the producers for Justice League War World, who also wrote the Justice League versus the Fatal Five animated adaptation, also answered, quote, "What we try to do with these adaptations is give you the thing that you remember," unquote. Which will always bring the fans back, right? Tell the story as the fans remember it. Not with some little woke preachy baloney, right? He continued, quote, "And it isn't always beat for beat because these stories are often told over a long period of time, and there are threads that never get tied up and things you don't remember. And maybe it wasn't as clear, but we tried to take them and say, quote, what did we remember when you think of this arc? And we tried to put that together in a way that tries to tell a story that you think you remember," unquote. Interestingly, Lukic's advice is very similar to comments shared by a longtime DC Comics writer, Chuck Dixon. Speaking with Bounding into Comics, Dixon explained why he believes a time of superheroes being dominant at the box office is at an end. And I think we did cover that article as well before. He said, quote, "A number of factors have combined to drop in interest for comic book-based content. Oversaturation, inconsistent quality, and Hollywood's restricted access to the Chinese market," unquote. Quote, "Both Disney and Warner are to blame as well. Marvel fans had to put up with a steady assault of woke content, an overbearing amount of comedy included in material, a general decline in the quality of effects, and, most damaging, a deliberate departure from the source material at every opportunity," he declared. He went on to specifically call out DC, quote, "DC screwed the pooch by constantly rebooting their franchises with new authors and cast. In addition, they diluted their brand with multiple different and conflicting continuities spread across TV and features. Which Batman is real? Which is the authorized Superman? Unquote. Quote, and they damned themselves with the latest Flash flick by leaning into all the multiverse nonsense in order to cram as many cameos into this failed project as possible, he opined. Yeah, a ship without direction is likely to sink. As it'll drift into the fog and be sunk by an iceberg. Dixon and Lukic are not the only ones advising producers such as James Gunn to stick to the source material. Director Quentin Tarantino recently said Eon Productions should actually adapt Ian Fleming's James Bond novels instead of trying to put their own spin on the story. He told Deadline, quote, I mean, they always start from scratch when it comes to somebody new. Because that's saying somebody couldn't have been going through the stuff that happened in Thunderball. All right. Well, I'll tell you, I actually have a thought process about this. Um, what I think they should do, and I've been thinking they should do this for a long time, is so many books have these really classic names and really classic adventures, and for the most part, a lot of them, they never did the book, they never did the stories, unquote, Tarantino relayed. He then shared, quote, they took the plot line and maybe the Bond girl or maybe the villain, and then just went their own way. Tom Mankiewicz just goes his own way. Mankiewicz sounds like Mangovich, right? Uh, he did the writing for a lot of them. I think they should not remake the movies, but actually just do the books. But do them the way they were written. And those would all be brand new. But what he's saying is that um, nobody had really actually adapted the original books to in the movies. They should probably just do that and just adapt them, not like reboot them or anything. Anyways, what do you make of Lukic's advice on keeping the characters consistent to how they had been portrayed and depicted as staples for the company for years? Do you think Gunn's plans to do this is his Superman legacy? They probably should just adapt it, not adapt the older stuff, and not try to put anything like the newer stuff in. That's just stupid. All right. Well, anyways, so now we're done with all the articles. So we'll do a quick wrestling wrap up, go over a little bit of what happened on Raw last night, some things, as well as AEW, and then get to this day in each history. So you know, first off, let me just go ahead and. So, of course, on last night's Monday Night Raw on the USA Network, on the opening match, Becky Lynch defeat Zoe Stark. Dominic Mysterio defended the NXT North American title on the show, retaining it against Sami Zayn. Bronson Reed defeated Tommaso Ciampa. Damian Priest defeated Apollo Crews, and then Drew McIntyre defeated Ludwig Kaiser. As they, of course, continue to build towards not this weekend, but next weekend SummerSlam. The match is already signed, I believe, for next weekend SummerSlam. Include, of course, for Seth Rollins defending the WWE title against the new world title against Finn Balor. Roman Reigns will be defending the Universal title against or the unified titles against Jey Uso. Cody Rhodes will be taking on Brock Lesnar. Logan Paul will be taking on Ricochet. I believe they've already signed a 3-way match for the SmackDown Women's title, where Asuka is defending against both Bianca Belair and Charlotte Flair. Rhea Ripley, I believe, there is going to be defending the Raw Women's title against Raquel Rodriguez. Now, some injury updates on the WWE side of things. Kevin Owens has been working hurt recently. And Liv Morgan was written off TV to cover for an injury that she's been involved with. In AEW news, Brian Pillman, not Brian Pillman, Jeff Hardy has stated in an interview recently that he wants to hold another one more singles title before he. And let's see, hail Lord Xenu and hail Princess Xena, long may they reign over us. Anyways, to finish off what I was saying there, Jeff Hardy has indicated that he would like to have one more big singles title run before he retires. He's 45 now. He indicates that he, even though he doesn't have any hardline retirement plans, as it were, he believes he'll still be rocking by the time he's 50, as he quoted in an interview recently. Hail Mike and Shadow, Rick and Shadow. Yep, thank you. If you haven't already, if you can like and share the stream, see if we can get some more friendly people in here. That'd be appreciated. Also, if anyone, if feel free to comment and or ask questions, I'll try to answer the questions to the best of my ability. So that's pretty much all the wrestling wrap up we're doing for tonight. So now we're gonna start to wind things down by, of course, going through this day in Nietzsche history. As I can find the cursor, of course. Right, so with that, today being Tuesday, July 25th, 2023, let's take a look back at this day in Nietzsche history. History! First off, we're going to head back 70 years ago today. As on this date, 70 years ago today, let's see. On this day, back 70 years ago today, Bill Melby and Billy Darnell defeated Lord James Blears and Martino Angelo for the Chicago version of the NWA World Tag Team titles. Also on this date, 70 years ago today, Blue Demon defeated El Santo for the NWA World Welterweight Championship down in Mexico. So on this date, Bill Melby and Billy Darnell defeated Lord James Blears and Martino Angelo for the Chicago version of NWA World Tag Team titles, and Blue Demon, the original Blue Demon, defeated El Santo for the NWA World Welterweight title as well. And 1953 is just so nice that we're going to hit it twice. As also on this date in 1953, the Warner Brothers short, Duck Dodgers in the 24th and a half century, premiered on this date back in 1953, 70 years ago today. Stars Daffy Duck as space hero Duck Dodgers with Porky Pig as his assistant. Of course, we talked about Marvin the Martian's first appearance yesterday. Marvin Martian makes another appearance here as Daffy. This cartoon marked the first of many appearances of Duck Dodgers' character. Duck Dodgers, of course, is believed to be a parody, I guess, of Buck Rogers, I believe, Buck Rogers of 25th century. So on this date, also 70 years ago today, Duck Dodgers of the 24th and a half century premiered in movie theaters from Warner Brothers. And finally, going back just 5 years ago today, as on this date 5 years ago today, the 10th issue of Gasolina from Image Comics went on sale on this date 5 years ago today. Sold for $3.99 and had a 28-page count. So on this date 5 years ago today, Image Comics, the 10th issue of Gasolina from Image Comics went on sale on this date. Well, I thank everybody for being here. I hope you all enjoyed the show. We went over quite a bit of material tonight. So I hope you all enjoyed it. Hope you guys will be back tomorrow night for more Niche news. Likely, we might be getting into, either tomorrow night or on Thursday night, of course, we'll be likely getting into, probably getting into the Indie Comics Showcase. So stay tuned for that. And this Friday, of course, I'll have Tim Olson on as my co-host. We look back to comics that went on sale November 1939, this week focusing in on Fiction House. So with that, I thank everybody for being here. I hope you all enjoyed the show. And I will see you tomorrow. Good night, all. May Xena touch you in your sleep. All right. All right. So with that, thank you and good night, everybody.